Welcome to the Mind Trust's announcement of our 7th cohort of Innovation and Charter School Fellows. My name is Brandon Brown, and I'm the CEO of the Mind Trust. We're an Indianapolis-based education nonprofit with a mission to ensure that all kids in our city have access to a great school. We work toward this mission by supporting school leaders to launch new schools, supporting existing schools to maximize their success, and we work hard to engage our community to help lead the needed changes that our education system so desperately needs. Since 2006, the Mind Trust has supported the launch of 37 schools that have served tens of thousands of kids in our city. And multiple studies have shown that these schools are leading their students to increased academic gains. Launched in 2014, the Mind Trust's Innovation and Charter School Fellowships provide up to 2 years of support for outstanding school leaders to design transformative schools and engage the community to ensure that these schools meet the needs of their families. We do all of this in close partnership with the Mayor's Office of Education Innovation and Indianapolis Public Schools. As part of our commitment to racial equity, the Mind Trust is deeply committed to ensuring that our students have access to a greater number of educators who reflect their racial backgrounds. Over time, close to 80% of our fellows have identified as leaders of color, and we're especially thrilled that this year's cohort is comprised entirely of Black and Latino men, two groups that have been historically underrepresented in education leadership. But now's the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's meet cohort 7. To do that, I'll turn it over to our Senior Director of School Incubation, Mr. Patrick Jones.
Thanks, Brandon. Thank you for introducing me, and now we'll get you to our fellows. And I'm so glad to welcome the Charter School Fellow, Tariq Al-Nasir, our Innovation School Fellows, Morrise Harbour, and Francisco Valdiosera. When we get started, we want to learn a little about themselves. I'm sorry, I got a real situation going on here.
Just 1 second for Patrick to get back.
Oh.
So we'll give him a few seconds, and then if not, then I can try to take it from here. All right, so as we're waiting from Patrick, I would actually love to start with you, Tariq. So we'd just love to hear a little bit more about you and your background, and then we can move on from there. So take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brandon, Patrick, and the entire Mind Trust team. Hey, everybody. My name is Tariq Al-Nasir. Affectionately, though, I'm known as Coach T. Now, the T is short for T molecule. Mi nombre es Coach T Wudechu Wambu Hao John, which in Mandarin and in Spanish simply means my name is Coach T. I am the founder and CEO of STEMnasium. Now, think of STEMnasium like a gymnasium. The difference is we show kids how to discover their STEM superpowers. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. Professionally, I've had the pleasure of working with and the honor of working at the United States Navy, DARPA, or the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and the CIA, or the Central Intelligence Agency. Academically, I've earned degrees from New York University, MIT, and a PhD from Stanford University in mechanical engineering with concentrations in micro and nanotechnology. I'm uber excited to be here with you today, and I look forward to working with the city of Indianapolis, the Mind Trust, and the extended partners as we move forward to engage students all over the city.
Coach T, thank you so much. Once again, everybody, sorry for that hiccup. We see what happens when you're trapped in a house with your kids for the past 3 months. So I appreciate everyone's patience there. In addition, I had a follow-up question, Coach T. Can you tell us a little bit about STEM as a language? I've heard you use that before. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, great question, Patrick. So STEM is the language. And what we know about language is when you expose a child to a language early, you increase their chances of being successfully fluent in that language. And so what does that really mean? Well, here's what it means. When students have foundational solid math and reading skills, things like boiling water or taking one part of a robot, connecting it to another part of a robot become very easy. But those very soft skills lean into more complex design thinking skills that are quintessential in the STEM arena. And so when we talk about a language, it's the same thing like trying to teach a child how to walk. We can't use words because they don't have the words yet. So what do we have to do? We have to get those children comfortable with standing. And then once they're comfortable with standing, then they start running. And so essentially what we've done is we put them in front of a challenge. They become comfortable with that challenge, and then they start running. And so STEM, it operates the same way.
Thank you, Tariq. Really appreciate the answer and really looking forward to your school. Now I want to introduce you to Morrise Harbour, our incoming Innovation School Fellow. Morrise.
Thank you, Patrick. And again, thank you, Brandon, and to the Mind Trust for actually giving me this opportunity to really embark on some transformative work here in the Indianapolis area. You know, my family and I, we're very excited to be here. We're looking forward to the community getting to know us and us getting to know the community. So I just want to start out by saying thank you and hello to everyone out there. As we think about, as I think about education, teaching, and learning, I like to say it was a family business. I have many family members that were part of, or that are part of education in some way, shape, or form. And my exposure and my understanding of how impactful education can be to a community was kind of instilled in me by an individual who spent 36 years essentially teaching at an adult education center in Brooklyn, New York. And that individual was my mother. I began my career in teaching as a 5th through 8th grade math teacher in Brooklyn, New York at a K-8 school. I then transitioned, after 8 years, I transitioned into the Washington, D.C. area where I got my first exposure to kind of an innovative school model where I served as the program coordinator for Don Bosco Cristo Rey Networks. After completing that, after spending a year there, I then transitioned to DC Public Schools, where I spent a year as the assistant principal. And where I'm coming from now, which is Friendship Public Charter Schools, I've been there for the past 10 years serving as the principal. A lot of my work there has centered around building community, building it into one of the largest K-8 schools in Washington, D.C., with some of the highest performing results throughout the entire city. When I talk about my professional background and my professional development, I look at it as part of me just growing as an individual to ensure that I provide sound instructional and leadership practices throughout my time as a school leader. I started out, prior to teaching, I completed my degree in psychology from Sacred Heart University. I then, while teaching at the school in Brooklyn, New York, I applied to and I was accepted into the School of Education at St. John's University, where I obtained a school leadership and building administration degree, master's degree. And just last year, I completed my second master's degree at the Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business, where I obtained my executive leadership degree. I've also participated on Middle States accreditation. I've been a participant in the Relay Graduate School of Education Principal Leadership Program, as well as serving on the DC Charter Alliance School Board. So all those things serve as the foundation, but I know that the true work will come with me getting to know the community and working with our partners to ensure that we provide another viable educational option here in Indianapolis. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Morrise. I'd like to follow up with a story you told me about a little school in the middle of the road. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how that kind of gets you to where you are today as far as school leadership?
It's interesting that you asked that because, we are in a space now where, equity is really at the forefront, and educational equity specifically. And this idea of innovation and this innovative school kind of came about when I was just passing, consistently through this neighborhood where it was just an odd building in an odd area of the street. And what I mean by that, this building was surrounded by a shopping mall, by a hospital, by a bank and things of that nature, but it just was an odd structure to be there. So, I became very inquisitive and wanted to see what was going on with that building. So as I did some research, and I found out that school, it was a school building that was located on this plot of land where freed slaves were able to obtain their education back during the early days of our country. So again, it's a situation where equity and the importance of having an equity-based curriculum and opportunity for students to be a part of, and that's essentially what I'm trying to bring here.
Thank you so much, Morrise. Next, I want to introduce you all to Francisco Valdiosera, who is coming to us and is going to be an Innovation School Fellow as well. Francisco?
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you, Brandon, the Mind Trust, and the Indianapolis community for this opportunity. I'm Francisco Valdiosera, and among other things, I am an immigrant, and I am a first-generation college graduate. I've dedicated my career to closing opportunity gaps for low-income students by incorporating college readiness and cultural relevance. I have a bachelor's degree from Stanford University. I also have a master's from Stanford University. And upon coming to Indianapolis, I obtained a master's degree in educational leadership from Butler University. In my 20-year career as an educator, I've been a social studies teacher, an ESL teacher, an AVID coordinator, school administrator, district administrator, and a school board member. 3 highlights in my career would be, 1, I started a successful AVID program at my alma mater, Sequoia High School in Redwood City, California. There, we were able to increase Latino student representation in honors courses and advanced placement courses, as well as in student government. 2, as a teacher and administrator at George Washington Community School, I was part of a team that at one time had 5 Latino male valedictorians at that school in a row. Now, that accomplishment belongs to the students themselves, but that highlights the importance of representation of Latino male role models in leadership positions. And 3rd, as a director of ESL for Indianapolis Public Schools, I coordinated the ESL program of 30 schools, served over 5,000 students, and led a staff of about 150 educators. And now I'm blessed with this opportunity to start an innovation school for the Indianapolis community.
Francisco, and we're lucky to have you, sir. One thing I'd love for you to elaborate on is in the stories that we've shared, getting to know each other. You talked about a ethnic-focused dorm at Stanford when you were in college. Tell me a little bit more about the impact that's had on you and your leadership.
I'd be happy to, Patrick. That's a really good question. While at Stanford, I lived in Casa Zapata, the Mexican American theme dorm, for a couple of years. So I've had a lot of practice explaining how learning about Latino identity is, in fact, learning about all cultures, and that it's not about isolation, but about unity and celebrating diversity. We Latinos call ourselves La Raza Cósmica, the cosmic race, not because we have some kind of bad ideology about things. It's because we believe that when all the cultures, all the ethnic groups mix, just take a look at any Latino and you will see what we will all look like. And we are already there as Latinos. So it was through the empowerment of the programming of Casa Zapata and taking ethnic studies courses that I realized that I had to be an educator. I was fortunate that educators saw something in me to use my ganas to get me to college. But had there been more relevant and responsive curriculum in the schools that I went to, more kids from my community would have made it to college. I know this for a fact because there were many other Black, brown, and LGBTQ students in my community who were way smarter than me.
That's great. Thank you so much, Francisco. Next, we'd like an opportunity to hear about the schools you're developing. Tariq, Coach T, we're going to start with you.
Thank you, Patrick. Well, since moving to Indianapolis about 4 years ago, I've successfully launched Gymnasium in 14 charter schools. 13 of them have been at Faith and Leadership Academy schools, and one at Global Prep Riverside School. Now, in partnership with the Mind Trust and Eastern Star Church The Rock Initiative, we hope to open Gymnasium Science, Math, Engineering in middle school. But SME for short. But this school will not just be like any ordinary middle school. At Gymnasium, we believe that every superhero has an origin story. And so this middle school will develop students to become extraordinary subject matter experts, but leading them to do things they never knew they could, like becoming drone pilots, like becoming iOS and Android phone repair technicians, and digital media arts platform systems for systems like YouTube, YouTube, Snapchat, gamification. And learning these types of skills, Patrick, is how we transform communities like Arlington Woods, right? From users of technology to power users of technology. Somebody might ask, well, hey, Coach T, what's the difference? Well, here's the difference. Users of technology will simply use technology for what it is, and that's fine. We need people like that. But a power user uses technology and reimagines the use of that technology. And that's how we end up with platforms like Dropbox, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram. And that's how we end up with all this cool mobile computing technology. So the Gymnasium Middle School will become part of the K-12 continuum in Arlington Woods, feeding into and supporting the educational pipeline already being established by Aisha Henderson and which is Arlington Woods School 99, Sankofa School for Success, and Ma'at Lands, and which is the rooted schools for Indianapolis.
We are excited to have Tariq here, developing his school in partnership with Eastern Star and the Rock Initiative. Now, let's hear from Morrise.
Thank you once again, Patrick. My school innovative model that I'll be working on for the next few years, working with in conjunction with the Mind Trust, will center on three things: to empower, to educate, and expose the school community to a high level, high class educational opportunity. And what I want to do is just focus on the school community, because the success of this school is really rooted in the aspect of the school community playing a role. All the stakeholders, all the students, all the staff members, the teachers, community members, board members, all will play a role in the success of this school. And we're going to do this by having sound instructional practices that are innovative and allow students to explore. We're going to also incorporate a level of strategic and timely operational practices, and most importantly, have a high level of student engagement that also encompasses parent stakeholder engagement. So with those three things, I've found throughout my career that we'll have a successful school. And again, this will be all encompassing around the community playing a big role in all the decision-making processes for that school.
Morrise, we're glad to have you here. Appreciate your willingness to bring your talent to our city students. And now we're going to hear from Francisco.
So while I still don't have a name for the school, that I will leave up to the community, I do have an idea for the foundational principles for the school that I propose. And those foundational principles are ganas, orgullo, and comunidad: determination, pride, and community. In 2001, early in the charter school movement, I joined Downtown College Prep, a charter school in San Jose, California. That charter school serves predominantly Latino students, and it is there that I first heard these principles used as core values. Ganas means determination. Every morning in Latino households, children are sent to school with a simple yet powerful burden: échale ganas, do your best. Latino parents have high expectations for their students. Educators must take upon that challenge by holding themselves to high standards and ensuring that students have the necessary tools to achieve. Through college and career readiness methodologies, we can achieve just that. Orgullo is pride. Research now shows us what most of us felt while taking ethnic studies courses in college, that culturally responsive and relevant practices have a tremendous impact on the achievement of all students, but especially Black and Brown students. To see oneself in the curriculum, the heroes, the accomplishments, the successes, is crucial to creating an empowering state of mind. A rigorous curriculum is not complete without the higher level critical thinking skills developed in a course of study that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. Comunidad is community. The wraparound services available to students and families in community schools ensure that students are not only motivated by a challenging curriculum, but that they are also empowered by culturally responsive programming. Furthermore, it nurtures students through health and social services. So our school will have high academic expectations for all, a relevant and responsive curriculum, and will be a nurturing environment for the entire community. Ganas, orgullo, and comunidad.
Francisco, as the Latino population grows and continues to grow into the Indianapolis landscape, we're really excited to have you on board and leading the ship for not just Latino students, but all students in Indianapolis. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your models. Brandon Brown, kicking it back to you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. So as you can all see, this year's cohort is comprised of outstanding leaders who are committed to building life-changing schools for kids in our city. We look forward to sharing each of their progress with you in the months and years ahead. And before we sign off, I wanted to again extend a huge thank you to our partners at both IPS and the Mayor's Office. Without them, none of this would be possible. So on behalf of the Mind Trust and everybody on the call today, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.